All right. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be interviewing Dr. Sarah Fitzpatrick. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, I'm Dr. Sarah Fitzpatrick. Some people call me Fitz. I'm an assistant professor at Kellogg Biological Station in the Department of Integrative Biology at Michigan State University.
Great. Let's start with talking about what kind of scientist you are.
Sure. So I started out as an ichthyologist, which is the sort of long-winded way of saying fish biologist, someone who studies fish either in freshwater or marine environments. So I started out really interested in ocean life. I got my scuba diving license when I was in high school, thinking I was for sure going to study fish in marine environments on coral reefs. But then when I went to graduate school, I really fell in love with freshwater rivers and streams and have actually done most of my research and science on freshwater fish. But since starting my job at Michigan State, I've really started to expand my science beyond just fish and actually now consider myself more of a conservation biologist, which is someone who studies the best ways to protect and conserve land, water, and biodiversity. So now I get to work on all kinds of different endangered species in addition to fish. So I work on things like birds, snakes, and frogs in addition.
Great. So an ichthyologist and a conservation biologist. Where do scientists like you work?
So this is one of the best parts about being a scientist, in my opinion, is that you get to work in many different places and get to know a lot of different study sites. So right now I have projects going in South America and the Caribbean, in the southeastern US, places like Alabama and Florida, and also some local projects here in Michigan. And these are just some images of habitats that I work in currently. They're all aquatic habitats, so whether they be ponds in Florida, rivers or streams in Alabama, or these beautiful streams on the island of Trinidad off the coast of South America.
Great. Those are some fun looking places. I can see a few that I recognize. So do you remember why you got into science originally?
Yeah, so I got into science thanks to early exposure to biology when I was a kid, and just always having loved being outdoors, being outside in nature, and especially in observing and interacting with wild animals. So I really love the sort of thrill and challenge of finding and catching critters. I added this picture of the three of us using what's called a seine, which is just a really big net to find, in this case, we were looking for these really rare fish in a stream in Alabama. And it shows the joy and enthusiasm of catching an animal that you otherwise, if you had just been walking down, going on a hike, you wouldn't know that this beautiful, rare thing exists in this river without sort of studying it and spending the effort to look for it in these environments. So I love the fact that each species is such a treasure chest of cool things to know and learn about if you spend the time doing that.
It sounds like a lot of inspiration. So boiling all that down, if you had to tell people about your science in one sentence, how would you describe that?
Yeah, so I decided to use the sentence variation matters. I think this is the best way to explain my science. And I have this picture here of all of these unique male guppies, which are a tiny but really interesting fish from the island of Trinidad in the Caribbean. Just like humans, each one of these guppies has its own personality, its own unique color pattern or genetic makeup, even its own hiding place in the stream. You really get to know these individuals. And what I study is the importance of preserving all this variation for the sake of each particular species, but also to maintain the health and well-being of the entire natural community in which each of these species lives and interacts.
Very cool. And finally, how does your research impact the world?
So I think that my science helps us understand the solutions that we need to conserve biodiversity. We're in the midst of a really scary biodiversity crisis, and we really need to preserve each of these species. And so that's ultimately what I hope my science does, is to help us learn how to conserve biodiversity. And I also hope through research and teaching and interacting with students and interacting with people like you, that my enthusiasm for the biological wonders on this planet provides a lens for people to learn and appreciate the natural world.
Awesome. Very inspirational, impressive set of work. Thank you so much for being here as our ichthyologist and conservation biologist. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.